After decades of economic and social devastation, the nation of Afghanistan is now moving to restore its economic health and to rebuild relationships with its traditional trading partners and others throughout the world. In recent years, the government of HE, President Hamid Karzai, has been working hard to overcome a range of pressing problems and to develop the rules, laws and regulatory infrastructure needed to allow development of a vibrant private sector and to transform Afghanistan into one of the world's most open economies. To ensure, however, that this work is sufficient to attract the foreign investment that is essential to introduce competition, efficiencies, and to otherwise facilitate and drive the rebuilding process, the Afghan government has been interfacing with foreign investors. This dialogue being done to answer their questions, to assess their views on business in Afghanistan, and to otherwise develop a better understanding of what more needs to be done to achieve sustainable growth and development. As part of this ongoing process, in November 2006, HE, Mr. Hamid Karzai, President of Afghanistan, led a senior delegation of Afghan government and business leaders to New Delhi to meet with their Indian counterparts and others throughout the region.
Ladies and gentlemen, for the sake of the legitimate aspirations of our peoples, let us resolve to make our common vision a reality. Thank you very much.
As part of these proceedings, Afghan Minister of Commerce Farhang and other senior government officials hosted representatives of leading Indian companies in a candid, interactive discussion regarding the trade and investment climate in Afghanistan. This dialogue informed these investors about potential opportunities in Afghanistan and allowed the minister to hear their concerns so they might be reflected in the ongoing reform and policy development process. Following this interactive session, Roshan Telecommunications, one of Afghan's leading foreign investors, presented a case study illustrating how they build a subscriber base of over 1 million subscribers in a country which had only 30,000 working phone lines in a little more than 3 years. After this presentation, Samir Sachu, General Counsel of Roshan, offered the following comments. Introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your company.
Yes, my name is Samir Sachu. I'm the General Counsel and Head of Government Affairs for a company called Roshan, which is Afghanistan's leading provider of mobile telephone services across the whole country. We launched in July 2003, having been awarded a license to operate in Afghanistan in January 2003. And when we launched, there were probably about 30,000 working phone lines in the country. And today, between amongst ourselves and our competitors, there are about 1.8 to 1.9 million people who are mobile phone customers, of which about over 1 million are Roshan customers.
Why did you come to Afghanistan?
I think we felt that there was a big opportunity in telecommunications infrastructure in Afghanistan, just because the country had been shattered and any existing infrastructure had been destroyed after 30 years of fighting.
How big is your operation?
We employ 800 people, of which about 710 to 720 are local Afghans. So it's very important in our company, although you'll find that there's a lack of human capacity in terms of technically trained people. So what we have to do is employ young Afghans and train them up, to be able to manage and operate a telecommunications network, which we're beginning to do.
Can the success of telecoms be translated into other key sectors of the economy?
We would hope so. I mean, telecommunications is the sort of is a model which we feel can be applied to other sectors in the economy. We've invested over $200 million since 2003 in building a national network. The sector's attracted probably a further $200 million among other licensees. So the sector has been liberalised. The government has acknowledged that it can not operate telecommunications networks, and what it's done has been to create a level playing field, or to try and create a level playing field in which the private sector are enabled to invest and therefore expand their network.
Are outreach programs an important thing for the government of Afghanistan to support?
I think it's vital. I think Afghanistan suffers from a perception issue, which is what people see in the media every day on TV, and in reality, I think investors or potential investors need to understand that there is a possibility to deliver very sound commercial businesses by meeting the needs of the Afghan population. So I think outreach efforts like this are vital. Afghanistan cannot rely on donor aid indefinitely, and so to a certain extent it is going to be reliant on inward investment, but also just private sector initiatives within the country to create jobs, to educate its people, to pay taxes.
After this dialogue, interviews with selected Indian representatives were held to hear their personal views of Afghanistan and the opportunities that it offers.
I'm working as a Vice President with PTC India Limited, which was formerly known as Power Trading Corporation of India Limited. We are the pioneer and the market leader in the business of electricity trading in India. We are also the agency mandated by the Government of India for trade in electricity with the neighboring countries.
I am Vijay Kalantri. I am from Mumbai, of course Mumbai, India, and I am an industrialist. We are developing an infrastructure project in Mumbai, in Maharashtra, which is a port-based seaport, and with the special economic zone and free trade zone. We are also into telecommunication and other areas of working such as textiles. I represent All India Association of Industries, known as AIAI, and World Trade Center, and both are based operating from Mumbai, and we associated with various organizations otherwise.
I'm from ICICI Bank, which is the largest bank in India in terms of market capitalization, with 15 overseas offices.
I'm Arun Kumar. I am the head for power practice with CRISIL Infrastructure Advisory. CRISIL is a company owned by Standard & Poor, and currently the Standard & Poor has the management control over the company. It will be fully integrated with Standard & Poor in years to come.
We are neighbor to Afghanistan. Earlier we had a common border and we used to travel together in Afghanistan. And I think there are a lot of similarity in culture as well as in business-like minds. And many people feel that it is better to deal with the neighboring countries rather than to go far off.
Afghanistan has been looked with a lot of curiosity from India, from all accounts, right from the political reasons to economic and other reasons. Curiosity because it has been a long-term neighbor of India, and always been a cultural link with this country. We always have heard about stories in our school books about Afghan Kabuliwala coming to and selling dry fruits in India. So Indians always had a traditional close social and cultural linkage with the country. I'd like to say that Afghanistan has always been a nostalgic country from Indian perspective. It's a country where Indians look up to, and there have been a very strong cultural ties, and we all wish that Afghanistan comes up as a modern country and with modern values. There's a good democracy and a good example for the rest of the world to follow. And we'd like Afghanistan definitely to succeed, and all our best to the country.
The whole idea of actually coming here was to understand opportunities that exist in Afghanistan that we could possibly present to our clients.
I feel there are tremendous opportunities in Afghanistan. The thing is that we should know more about it, such as in the infrastructure area like road and bridges, airport, or power. These are the areas where we can work together, and I think I foresee a lot of opportunities in these sectors. Only thing is we should know more and more about it, how to go about it, so that the minister can guide us. And a lot of Indian companies who are our members, including ourselves, our company Balaji, can look into these areas of working together in Afghanistan for better opportunities.
Being a large bank in India, we bank the leading corporates here, and we are increasingly seeing their interest in considering overseas opportunities. Over the last few years, we saw a few of them move towards Europe and US. In more recent times, we've seen transactions in Central and Eastern Europe. And I see no reason why these Indian companies should not consider Afghanistan. considering the long-standing historical ties that India has had with Afghanistan. We feel the retail sector is a very safe and sound sector to lend to, and retail opportunities present themselves in many forms. Cellular bills is just one way in which we can look at the opportunities which are in Afghanistan. Definitely, I think the mobile operators from India could look at the opportunities, especially if the average revenue per user is as high as that mentioned by the minister. Opportunities, as the minister pointed out, in sectors like pharmaceuticals and cement. Of course, the complete concern would be around infrastructure and support provided by the government in terms of clearances, in terms of having a single point of contact for all the requirements of corporates which are planning to invest in Afghanistan, either in form of greenfield projects or joint ventures and partnerships.
And as consultants and the investors in this country would look at it with a very positive frame of mind, because there is a good opportunity, good returns we expect. Threshold would be in terms of the legal and the other commercial security which a company would be, because right now it's easy for an American and European companies to operate because there is a protection of the US government and there's a protection of the security which the US government's mere presence provides. But for an Indian company to go and operate, it will definitely require a rule of law. There has to be legal protection and commercial protections and institutions existing there before an Indian investor would be willing to take a risk, because Indian investor will not get the protection of the US government. That's a fact. That's a reality which we all understand.
Of course, one major issue which remains to be addressed is the concern around security. And the minister was able to highlight the increasing effort that the government is making in terms of trying to address the situation. Of course, we'll have to continue to work with companies from India in trying to explain the situation to them.
One is law and order, because we hear a lot of news. Sometimes they not be correct. Law and order problems all over the world, not only in Afghanistan. But people have some serious reservation on that. And I think that is one of the area. Second is more and more hotels are required in Afghanistan, because there is only one or two good hotels where you can go and stay in Afghanistan. Third is that many people are not equipped in Afghanistan itself to know and say what they need and what they want to do. If that is done and there is some clarity on that, I think if these three issues are addressed, much more could be done with Afghanistan, and Indians are very keen to deal with Afghanistan.
I would say that at an early stage, just as you are putting in place in Afghanistan a good regulatory mechanism for telecom, it would be good if the regulatory mechanism for electricity also and other utilities is put up in Afghanistan pretty soon, because the projects we are talking about will come maybe about 2-3 years down the line. So if you have a regulatory mechanism and you start up by building institutions which would conceptualize and actually frame up the projects, you would be on the correct path.
So they should keep in mind?
I think the good thing which is we have seen from our practical experience in these transactions is that multiplicity of agencies not being is first an essential condition. Some amount of governmental interest on both sides, because these are transnational issues, is required. It cannot be left to the private sector, and a healthy exchange of information and knowledge at the operating level helps these transactions.
So any company is going to Afghanistan is taking a risk, and that risk will be taken only when the basic framework of legal infrastructure and the law, regulation, all these are created, and which, as the minister indicated, is in the process. So that's the encouraging sign. So that is the first threshold, that the law is there, the rule of law is there. There are institutions created which can deal with the situation of conflict, and then there would be a minimum infrastructure, base infrastructure created. If we send our people, there has to be base infrastructure like hotels to stay, schools for kids to go to, hospitals for if you fall ill. So those basic threshold and then a minimum market size, because you can't operate in a vacuum. So on these all aspects, on the legal aspects, on the social aspects, on the market aspects, there has to be minimum threshold reached before you think that the investor will react.
Of course, the complete concern would be around infrastructure and support provided by the government in terms of clearances, in terms of having a single point of contact for all the requirements of corporates which are planning to invest in Afghanistan, either in form of greenfield projects or joint ventures and partnerships.
We only, as a businessman, as an entrepreneur, we want to know what are the opportunities, how to go about. There is more transparency in tendering, expression of interest, and the department and one window clearance. If we are able to focus on those areas and how the funding will be done, I think if we are able to know what is route to business in Afghanistan from the Minister of Commerce and the Finance Minister, and how to go about it, and which is a department you to deal with. If there is only one department, I think this is what we would like to know, and if that is there, we are there in Afghanistan.
There have been a very strong cultural ties, and we all wish that Afghanistan comes up as a modern country, and with modern values, as a good democracy and a good example for the rest of the world to follow. And we'd like Afghanistan definitely to succeed, and all our best to the country.
Wishing the best to Afghanistan and hoping that business prospers very much.
Now, as I said, that we love people of Afghanistan. They are our brothers, and we like to work with them, not only as a businessman, but as a friendly neighbor country.
At the conclusion of this event, Minister Farhan offered a few comments of his own regarding Afghanistan's future prospects and the changes that need to be made. Afghanistan has fully accepted a market economy in its constitution. We have no other choice and are now moving to enact the laws, regulations and policy measures needed to maximize competition and to facilitate the development of a vibrant private sector. Afghanistan has been suffering from a lack of education, and only 5 years ago there was no proper and standard curriculum and school system. So the youth was suffering. We have taken steps to correct this, and the youth of Afghanistan are now learning new skills and playing an important role in the reconstruction of our country. This will help to build a proper foundation for the next generation. When I speak about Afghanistan, I am speaking about both men and women, as gender equality is an important part of our future.